Why is it so dark in here?
Okay, we are live. It's all yours, Nicole.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Hello, everyone, welcome. I'm going to call the Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting to order. I know the agendas were all sent out to everybody. Is there anything that needs to be added to the agenda for today?
I think we're going to add an update on the sidewalk tender from Preston. So that'll be number 5.4, if that works for everybody.
Yeah, I'll move that we make that addition to the agenda.
Second.
Perfect.
All in favor to add that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone like to approve the agenda itself?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Okay, Karen. And any seconders?
I
I'll
will.
second it.
All right, and all in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay. Any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof?
No.
All right. We'll move on to approval of the minutes from our last two meetings. The one was from March 6, 2020, and then I went from July 7th, 2020. I know there was a few spelling errors in the March 6 meeting. Where did I see those? In 6.2, under Bob Castleman, CAO, it says Bob Castleman talked about many issues relating to accessibility as they, instead of TGHEY, it's they.
Okay.
And then under 6.3, this is a minor one, but my name is spelled wrong. It says both Nicole and Karen Typel, but yeah, my name is spelled wrong in there.
Interesting.
Okay.
Anything else in there? Any other additions or changes from anyone on the committee?
Nope. I'll move that the minutes of both meetings be accepted as printed.
I second it.
And all in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
There's so many of us to approve things today. Okay, so then the next part of the agenda is staff updates. So we'll go to 5.1, facility reopening preparations. I'm not sure if that was you, Tom, that's running that one, or Mike or Preston.
That's
That's
me,
going
Nicole.
to be Mike, Manager of Operations.
Morning. So as the agenda states, was asked to provide an update as it relates to our COVID reopening during COVID. We have two projects in particular that are underway, one being at Alice Street and the second at Sharp Road. So essentially they're projects that provide some barriers, some reconfiguring our counter space, adding glass to provide protection for residents and for our staff as we work towards the reopening. Starting with Alice Street, the temporary entrance for Alice Street when we do reopen is going to be off Dundas Street, or what's known as the old court entrance. So residents or the public will come in off that door. There'll be two counters there that are interconnected with an accessibility a counter for those that are in any type of mobility aid. So if they're in a scooter or anything like that, they'd be able to come in and get access, as well as having the opening for a wheelchair. So we had that in mind when we started putting that together to have a accessibility component, which, like I said, was at the forefront of that. Secondly, over at Sharp Road, when you come in the front foyer now, there'll be a countertop at the back where it's there now, but we've reconfigured it so that the countertop will have glass. But in doing that, we've also made the gate that was there accessible. There's going to be a solid door there now, but it will be accessible so that any type of wheelchair or mobility aid will be able to pass through the access way. And that will provide access to, we have an accessibility washroom at the end of the hallway that we had previous. So that will provide better access to that service when we get to a point where the public is in the buildings, more routinely than they will be when in that first phase. So basically, two projects, like I said, COVID related with the element of accessibility certainly built in, and I like to think of it in terms of Sharp Road, improved accessibility. So,
Will those doors have buttons?
pardon me?
Will those doors be automatic buttons?
Well, no, because you're actually at Sharp Road, for example, you're already inside the building. There's actually there's sliding doors. They're accessible doors now. I don't know if there's a button on them, but they're activated by, I believe they're motion activated.
Okay,
And the entranceway, the temporary entrance at Alice Street, yes, is an accessible door with a button right now, which will get the individual into the temporary lobby, which is going to allow residents to return to paying a bill, purchasing bag tags, any type of business of that nature. But it also will have, again, it's just temporary over at Alice Street, but it will allow residents to do that in a safe manner.
good. Thank you.
Mike, are you saying at Alice Street, then the staff is moving down into the lobby for the courthouse?
The temporary plan is that finance will relocate to that court lobby, that former court lobby. So yes, that's correct. Right now, two of the ladies are working out of a former court office, which is basically just going to be 5 to 6 feet away from where the temporary new counters will be for that time period. Yeah, so they're going to be transplanted there for the foreseeable future. But again, it's all temporary. I mean, our intent is to get back to using the main entrance off of Alice Street. I mean, we've got that beautiful entrance and corridor coming into the libraries, or both sides of the library, I should say, and then eventually entering the municipal building from that point again. But the temporary measure to control public access and to monitor public access will be from the Dundas Street entrance, also known as the court entrance.
And I know, have you heard back anything, Tom, about the application for the Enabling Accessibility Fund?
No, not yet. I was going to sort of give an update on that at number next, I guess, maybe.
Okay, sorry.
5.3, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's 5.3, sorry.
But I haven't heard back yet, no.
And then what's the time frame on this? Like, when is this going to be operational?
Well, I don't think there's an official date been made public yet, but I'm part of our COVID recovery team, and September 8th has been a date that has been bantered around as certainly a target date. I don't expect there would be any significant delay. We have a few challenges with materials, and of course, contractors. We don't have a large contractor component involved in Alice Street because it's modular countertops that we were able to assemble in-house, and a little bit of glass supply and that sort of thing for the protective glass and that type of thing. But barring any delay of supplies or working with contractors, I don't think we'll have any issue meeting that date. But that's sort of the target date that has been mentioned in our most recent meeting, which was Wednesday of this week. This week, yeah.
And does that include the push button at that door being operational again? Because I think, was it you, Tom, that said it wasn't working?
Yeah, we never really completed the whole troubleshoot on that. That's why it was included in the application for the grant funding. I mean, maybe you and I, Mike, could look into that further and report back on the status of that door currently.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just if it's going to open September 8th temporarily, then you might have people who have a hard time getting in that door without a push button working.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Mary?
Yeah, thanks, Nicole. The one big problem that I'd like to bring to people's attention, and Councillor Bateman, if he gets here soon, he can vouch for it. Because people that insist on going in with a check to pay for their water and sewage and their taxes, there was no drop box at Alice Street, and they had to go to the industrial park, and a lot of people don't even know where that is, for one thing. And I think Mark can vouch for the fact that he had to almost drive, not in their car, but take them to that drop box. I guess my question is, why can't we have one at Alice Street for those people that don't have computers and wish to pay both their water and their taxes at the other one? I know we'll soon be open, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we won't be closed down again if another phase comes with the COVID. So I think it would be a simple solution for a lot of older people that need that service. And for some people, it's much more accessible because some people are walking, and that's a long way to walk down to the industrial park, or go on a scooter or go on a walker when you no longer can drive.
Yeah, that's a good point, Mary. I don't think I was even aware that there was a Dropbox option. Have you guys heard that at the staff end at all about a Dropbox?
I haven't at this point. I'm not too sure if Tom has, but I haven't heard any information on that to this point, no.
Well, we got a lot of complaints, some of us on council, because of that. There's one landlord in particular that pays, and he told me he pays $20,000 a year in property taxes from his rentals, and he insists that he only pay by check, and he doesn't want to use the post office. So that's, that has been difficult because they've been quite angry that they weren't allowed to go to the municipal office to pay, or at least drop it off. But there was a lot of other people, and Mark, whenever he comes on, he can tell you about the different people that would ask him, where is the industrial park? And they've lived here most of their lives, so it's not something everybody's aware of.
Tom?
Thanks, Nicole. Yeah, I have heard a couple of similar reports from the finance department of people wishing to be able to drop off checks more easily at Alice Street. So maybe that, I don't know if that's something that would fall under your realm, Mike, to look into, like a external Dropbox.
Yeah, I can have a discussion with finance on that subject, and I think the timing of it would be very appropriate, considering we are certainly, although we will be opening, there's certainly still the the feeling that we want to discourage as much public visiting as we can. I think based on the current climate, but. So I think, to that regard, it would make sense to look at that, especially because of the timeliness of it. It also, as well as being convenient or providing a convenience to residents, it also would eliminate, unnecessarily lining up to come into the building, when, we certainly are still in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, well, I guess maybe then we'll leave that with you, Mike, to bring that to finance to see if that's an option. Even if it's just to move the box from Sharp Road up to Alice, or if it could be clumped in with the accessibility fund, something like that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else, Mike, for the facility opening?
No, that was sort of the two projects that certainly had an accessibility component. So no, I think that is it.
Is there any other questions or comments for Mike on that one?
Sure. May I speak, Nicole? I was just wondering if Mike could update us on what's going to happen with the library. since especially a lot of seniors use the library and they're anxious to be able to go in the front, the door that they always use. And because when you have mobility issues, it's not exactly the best place to come up on the one on Dundas Street. So maybe, I don't know if Mike knows the details of what's happening with the library and when it will be open, because I'm getting questions from some of the residents.
Yeah, Councillor, I don't have an exact, I think it would probably be very similar to the municipal center opening as a whole. But my understanding is that they are going to open up the Alice Street doors, the main library doors. They would access the library that way, but you would not access the municipal building from those doors. The doors that would lead to the second floor would remain locked. So if you're coming to do any type of municipal business or municipal transaction, you would enter from Dundas, but you would enter the library through the main Alice Street doors. You would have access to that lobby area.
Okay, just further to that, Nicole, if I may speak. So the drop-in center that's downstairs, where would people enter and go? Because some of them need the elevator to go down.
I can't speak to that. I'd have to check with Rick Caddick, our fire chief, who's a little more involved in our protocol and that sort of thing. I don't have an answer. I don't even know if to be honest with you, if that's something that's going to be opened up and available right off the hop to that group. I can't speak to that at that point. I just don't have enough information on it.
So can I leave it with you at least to get to the fire chief or whoever happens to be responsible? Yeah. And could they give that update at the council meeting on Monday night? Some member of the staff anyways, because there is people that are concerned about if it's going to open, when, and how do we get there?
Yeah, no, I can pass that information on.
And Preston, is he still here?
Yep.
So I don't necessarily need a motion to go forward, but as long as I know that's like you'll be there on Monday night, right, Preston?
Yes, but it might be Heather from the library that's going to be speaking to or speaking about their operations.
Heather is going to be on the agenda?
I don't know, but it would be Heather's responsibility to determine what facilities of hers are being opened and when.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the drop-in center now, Preston. So would somebody on staff, the CAO or somebody, be able to get that information to the public through the CAO, or should we pass? It's too late to pass a motion for Monday's meeting anyways. So who do I speak to?
We'll
then?
make sure the information. We'll make sure that information is available at council by somebody.
Okay, thanks, Preston.
I think, Mary, it also depends on who actually runs the drop-in program.
It's a joint. They all run each other. they all, the drop-in center that's in, they call it the dugout in the basement.
Oh, okay.
They all just meet there to play cards and have coffee, and they own their own furniture in there and their microwave and everything. So there's nobody in charge.
Okay. Anything else on 5.1? Would anyone like to move that the Accessibility Committee receive the report from Mike regarding accessibility considerations in preparation for the reopening of the Municipal Center and Public Works Building?
So moved.
Mary?
Second.
Sandy? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay. We'll move on to 5.2, which is signage installation at 35 Alice Street.
Okay, that's me.
Tom, all right.
Yeah, so I got an update. Well, I mean, I saw the signage go in, which was nice to see in the first week of August. And I assume that was, part of early preparations as well for the reopening. I know that was on the, you guys had identified that as a priority in your earlier minutes. So what they did was they have two signage boards. So one on each level outside of the elevators. And they feature tactile letters as well as Braille. So they're very good wayfinding signage right outside of each elevator. And then there's also stencil lettering on the glass of each door that enters like a new section within 35 Alice Street. That again identifies the offices that are located in those areas. That's pretty much it for the update, just to let you guys know that it has taken place. It's been installed, and there's definitely a very good accessibility feature, especially on those boards with the featuring the Braille as well.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments about Tom's report on the signage there? Okay. Would anyone like to accept Tom's report regarding the installation of signage at Municipal Center?
I'll move.
Karen, okay. Any
I'll
seconder?
second it.
Mary, you just want your name everywhere on here.
I just want the world to know me.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And then 5.3, the Enabling Accessibility Fund Grant application, and that's Tom. Anything else to say on that other than you haven't heard anything yet?
No, but I wanted to just let you guys know sort of the content of what I submitted as well, just so, just to make sure you guys are aware of what we did. So we ended up calling it the Accessible Door Improvements Project. So the funding, there's flat rate funding from the Enabling Accessibility Fund from the federal government for specific types of projects, which include accessible doors, ramp, retrofits, and accessible washrooms. So basically, between Mike and myself, we identified the doors as the main project that we should apply for, just to make sure that things aligned with our reopening timeline and everything like that. So we applied to retrofit the exterior door at the Dundas Street entrance, just to bring it up even beyond the accessible features that it already has. And then we also applied for 2 interior accessible door improvements, just to add automatic buttons to the doorway at the top of the stairs going into the second floor, as well as the doorway going into the administration office entrance on the second floor as well. And again, this kind of all aligns with the reopening strategy and sort of in phases as people are allowed further into the building. If they continue to use, especially the Dundas Street door, that will allow them further into the building. Or eventually, when we do open up to the main entrances, they will be able, an individual could walk up the stairs and, like, let's say they had a cane or something, they could still operate that door at the top of the stairs into the second floor, and then go from there. So so for the 3 doors, the total project value that we applied for was just under $17,000. And hoping to hear back soon if we get it. The application noted that some projects are accepted as early as September, like work can begin on some projects as early as September. So hopefully we hear back soon and maybe we can get all of that wrapped up even before, or at least started before the reopening.
Does anybody have any questions for Tom on that or comments? Karen?
I would just like to say, I think that sounds like a really great project, and just wanted to thank you guys for putting that application in.
Mhm.
And fingers crossed that we get the funding.
Yeah.
Okay, would anyone like to move then that we receive the rural report from Tom regarding submission of a grant application to the federal government's Enabling Accessibility Fund program? Sandy,
I'll second.
second. Karen, second. All right, all in favor?
Yes,
Yes.
And then 5.4 is sidewalk update, and I'm assuming that's Preston.
Thank you, Nicole. So as most of you probably aren't aware, council awarded a contract about 2 weeks ago for $170,000 worth of concrete and curb and sidewalk repairs. They're set to start on September 9th. So if they perform and they give us some good product, we have the ability to award an additional $200,000, which that'll come to council in September. That, you know, basically if they give us a good product and they're delivering on what they need to deliver on, that we can award more work and do even more sidewalk repairs than we initially planned for this year, because we did get a good price on it. So hopefully that moves forward. We all have our fingers crossed that they're going to give us a good product and we won't run into what we had last year for sure. And then we can get some of these repairs that are needed downtown done. There's a few other things I'd like to mention too that are accessibility related. As you've all seen now, all the curbs were painted downtown. They're all yellow now, they're done. Now, obviously when the repairs go through and if they replace a curb, we'll have to go back and paint it again. But for now, they're all done. The intersection lights at Elizabeth, Prince Edward, Young, and Main Street are all being upgraded now. They're about halfway done. They have all the light heads on. Now they're just working on the control panels to run those two intersections to get them in place. The other good thing that's happening is the asphalt pair contract was awarded. They're set to start on September 8th. Doesn't necessarily affect a lot of spots for accessibility, but there are a couple downtown where Main Street meets Young. There's some repairs needed on the northwest corner of that intersection and also on the southwest corner where there's a bad divot on a manhole right in the crosswalk area. So I know people have some difficulty traversing that area. So that whole area will be fixed up. And just to touch on Mary's comments about the signage to get people to 67 sharp, that was brought to our attention. We've received some complaints. So we're working on getting some signage starting out on Prince Edward Street to direct people into this municipal building, which should help in the future anyways. Once that's in place, it'll help get people into the building a little easier rather than trying to guess or having to use GPS, that sort of thing. So that's everything.
Any questions or comments for Preston? Mary?
thank you. Thanks, Preston, and hopefully now we'll be able to move forward because, as you know, and I know you came into a bad situation. I had one of the owners of one of the shops downtown visiting yesterday, and she basically said it's now become a laughing stock on Main Street because all that ever seems to happen is different places get painted and nothing gets done. And that's a reflection on us as an accessibility committee too. And we get the complaints, but more than that, anybody that sits on council certainly gets a lot of complaints. And it's become a real safety issue, and there's been people hurt. And you know, our next thing will probably be lawsuits. So the sooner we get this done, the better. And while I'm at it, and Preston can vouch for this, I keep on about Casey's Lane and I can't find out who's responsible for that. And it's not only a disgrace, it's an accessibility concern too. It wasn't the best to put the interlocking brick there because now it's heaved with the winter weather. So I think really maybe as accessibility committee, we could maybe get something done there if we put a motion forward that staff take a look at that whole area. It would not be a very easy way to navigate if you're using a walker or a cane because it's quite bumpy.
Sorry,
It's
Mary,
never-
where's Casey's Lane?
Casey's Lane's between the Buck store, whatever that's called, and the old antique store.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really reflection on us as a council too, because it's disgusting. And it has been used with Rexall especially. You can't go in the back way, so you have to come around Casey's Lane or go the other way around to get into the front. And you can't go out the back, so you have to come all the way around. So especially people with accessibility issues, that's a long ways for this COVID time. And I just am quite embarrassed. I was so embarrassed a few times that I thought maybe I'd go and clean it, but time didn't permit for one thing. And then I thought, you know, I bet, you know, it's not something I should be doing because I could, you know, maybe I'd fall and hurt myself, and then there would be another problem. But I really think that it's time, after I've complained for a few years now, that we do something about it. So I'd like to move a motion that staff take a look at Casey Lane and come back with a report on how we can make that more accessible, and also find out who's responsible and keep that whole lane. You know, it's an entryway to go down to the plaza. A lot of people use it. They park somewhere at Sobeys. They use that to go even to the liquor store, to the other stores. And it really is, it is an embarrassment all the way around. So I would like to move a motion that staff bring a report forward to see the accessibility issues and what council can do to make that more accessible, and to find out who really is responsible, what director is responsible for Casey's Lane. So if I could move that motion and somebody second it, maybe we could get it on the floor to speak about it.
Tom put his hand up and I saw Preston put his hand up, so.
Preston
I was
can.
just gonna say, I think from the accessibility committee's sort of powers is that we could recommend that council direct staff to.
Yeah, we'll just put the word recommend on, I know that.
Yeah. So that works for you for the motion then, Mary?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So we need a seconder before we can even discuss it.
I'll second it.
If I could just speak to that.
Sure.
That is already on the CAO's radar. It's the Parks Department that looks after that lane there. And I believe that's already on his radar to get it cleaned up, fixed up, and, you know, just some higher level of maintenance there. Because I know we've already had graffiti and some other things, and garbage gets dumped there quite a bit and that sort of thing. So I think that's already on Jim's radar to kind of get, you know, his staff to pay a little more attention to that. But if there's bricks heaved and some undulations in there that are unsafe, our students are currently out doing sidewalk inspections and should identify any of those areas so that we can get it fixed up and moved out. That's for sure.
Very faintly.
Aaron?
I just wanted to ask if that laneway is lit at night.
No.
Not loud enough. I don't think so.
I think that would be a factor in the accessibility of it at night. It is a really handy little lane, as Mary said, to just cut through. And whenever it gets looked at, I would just recommend that lighting is part of the consideration.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda. I don't know if she can hear us anymore.
No,
Can't hear you.
Robert.
Okay. We'll let her get that figured out. Maybe she can at least hear us. So I'm trying to think of if it's already on Parks radar, do we still want the motion to go ahead?
I'm willing to wait another month. What's a few more months after a few years? Let's see what happens.
As long as we get it done before winter.
Okay. So our plan for that one is that we'll await a motion to the next meeting. But then maybe we can have at our next meeting, we can invite Jim to give us an update on Casey's Lane. Does that work? Is that fair with everybody? Preston's got his hand up.
Yeah. No, sorry, I believe the committee should still put forth the recommendation because
Okay.
we want to get it included in this year's budget. So having that on record now, I would just add lighting into it to be considered. Now, it might be difficult in spots because we don't own any of the buildings that the lighting would have to go on, but it's certainly something we can look at because there should be something we can do at least for a portion of it. And then maybe have those improvements, but the motion would help now to just to get it on the budget radar so we can have it in for a project for council's consideration this fall.
Okay. Sandy, I saw your hand up first before Mary's.
Get it. I was scratching.
Oh, you were scratching. All right, Mary.
I'm scratching, but I want to talk to. Thanks, Nicole. Preston, I don't know if you were involved, probably not, but when that antique place was sold, we had to give an easement because we owned where the building was sitting. And so we probably wouldn't have a problem putting a light there because of that, but you could talk to planning department about that. I don't think you would have been involved when the place was being sold and they found out that it was called the old Stedman building, you know the one I mean, where the end of the thread was the antique place. Then when it was being sold, they found out that the actual building was sitting on municipal property at one side of it. So I think, lighting won't be a problem. But that's something that you will have to bring up with the planning department when it comes to that.
Tom, do you have a motion written down from what Mary was saying?
Yeah, let's see what you guys think about this.
Okay.
So that the committee recommend that council direct staff to investigate accessibility features of Casey Lane, including lighting, cleanup, and resurfacing. Is that accurate?
Cleaning is separate, I think.
Yes, cleaning should be a weekly thing already being done.
Yeah.
We want to capture more of the upgrades that we want to do. It could be surface repairs or replacement or the addition of lights, ramps, that sort of thing.
I think mentioning the cleaning though helps it become prominent that it needs to be done regular. Like if we add it regular cleaning.
It's a battle, Nicole, that it's different departments, so.
Okay.
So what we're bringing forward is for Preston. The cleaning, the regular cleaning would be Parks and Rec with Jim.
Okay.
Nicole, Mary, this is
Hi.
Linda. I'm online. I'm finally finally got to you guys, so I'm here.
Good,
now.
Linda, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, Mark.
Hi.
Does that mean we want to split that into two separate motions? Or are we okay to remove the cleaning from our motion and just focus on the surface upgrades and lighting?
Yeah, I think just the one, because I think they're soon going to clean Casey's Lane, because I've been pushing that so much, and some others have too, that I think that will get done, and Preston has said that it's on the CAO's radar, so I'm sure that Jim will get sick of hearing from me, so I think it'll be cleaned.
Okay. So we'll take the cleaning part out of the motion, and do you want to read it again, Tom, then with that removed?
Yeah, so the motion is that the Accessibility Advisory Committee recommend to council to direct staff to investigate accessibility features of Casey's Lane, including lighting and surface upgrades.
That's good.
Okay. So I'm assuming, Mary, you are the mover,
Yes, please.
and second for that?
I'll do it.
I'll second it.
I like Mary.
I think Mark got in there first. All in
Where are
favor?
you, Bateman?
Hey, I had another meeting, Tadman. I'm an important
All in
person.
favor? Mary, you're interrupting. All in favor?
Not me.
Yes.
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 Mark, you've got a halo over your head.
Well, I've been trying to tell people that.
Looks a little false, it's slipping.
It is.
Is there any other questions or comments for Preston, or anything else, Preston, on your end? Say for that part?
Nope, that's everything from me.
Okay.
Good timing, Preston.
Are you self-ringing your phone again?
Oh, no, that's the office phone.
Ignore that one.
So we'll put in a motion that the Accessibility Advisory Committee accepts Preston's report on sidewalk and asphalt updates for the municipality. Anyone like to move that?
I'll move it.
Mary? And seconders?
I'll second it.
Sandy? All in favor?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys very much for your reports. We'll move on to business 6.1, which is accessibility plan and goal development. Just to give everybody updates from our last meeting, Karen and I met with Judy Gilbert, the consultant, and sort of talked about next steps. And I believe at the same time, Tom, and was it Paul or Mike that you talked with about sort of next steps and the plan?
Yeah, had a good discussion with Paul Walsh, the planner.
Okay. Yeah. So we've come up with a plan, and part of it was the questionnaire that was sent out to everybody, and I'm going to pass it on to Karen. So Karen and Tom can continue on with the next part.
Karen.
Sure. Tom, did you want to say a few words before we get started onto the slides?
Yeah, I guess let's start by saying thanks to everyone for submitting responses to the questionnaire. I assembled a PowerPoint that will show the responses verbatim, and I'm gonna share it with the screen here so that Karen can read it off and go through the responses.
Sure.
Just give me 1 second here.
So I think the ultimate plan is to go through each section and come up with priorities for each section. And then once we develop those priorities, it'll get passed to staff, and then staff will come up with an action plan to work on them. So I think we want to try and avoid getting into the specifics of, okay, this sidewalk at this spot needs to be fixed. I think we want to look more broad for these goals. Yeah, then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready, Karen?
I'm ready when you are.
Okie dokie. You guys let me know if you're seeing that.
Yep,
Yeah.
I can see it.
Okay, so let's see how this works. Oh. 1 second here. Okay.
Okay, so I'm mindful of the time because we are, there are about 40 slides. And so let's just get through as many as we can. What we're going to do, if you remember, we had 5 areas that we were providing feedback on: the overall vision, and then the different standards under the AODA. So, so what we'll do is we'll go through each section, and at the end, if anybody has an idea that is sort of tweaked by what you're seeing here, something that you didn't really think of before, then we'll just make a note of that and bring it forward to the next steps. So the first question we provided feedback on is, what is your overall vision for accessibility in the municipality of Brighton by 2025? So here are some of our comments. To ensure equal access and participation for people with disabilities. To design services and facilities for all persons to maintain dignity and independence. Remove and prevent barriers to accessibility. Integrate persons with visible and unrecognized disabilities into places and activities of the public realm. Meet our accessibility requirements under Ontario's accessibility laws. The next one here is integration and equal opportunity for the entire community, both rural and urban areas, meeting the needs of those within our community with disability needs in a timely manner, with preventing and removing barriers. To make the municipality as user-friendly as we can for the benefit of everyone who uses our municipal infrastructure at any time. And the last one here, hoping to get everything completed on our plan by 2025. To have every public building, shop and store, restaurant and service provider accessible. To have all sidewalks and egress points safe and accessible. The stoplights at Main Street and Prince Edward Street, including crosswalks, should have control button to stop traffic so pedestrians with canes or walkers and parents with strollers to have enough time to cross the road safely without getting hit. Or the safest would be an all-way stop for traffic at the intersection of Main Street and Prince Edward Street. That's a creative one there. This should include signal devices for hearing and seeing persons with disabilities. Continue to incorporate accessibility considerations into all new capital works projects and asset management planning initiatives to achieve substantial improvements by 2025. To have a comprehensive accessibility plan that assures compliance with AODA standards with yearly updates and progress towards objectives. To be a leader in the community when it comes to accessibility. This means having all facilities fully accessible to residents and infrastructure in place to provide access to all who live, work, and play in the area. Wouldn't it be wonderful if all the new AODA standards are met in Brighton by 2025? And finally, I think this might be the last one, although I'm not sure. All people in Brighton, regardless of age and abilities, have barrier-free access to full and equal participation in the community, including opportunities to work, shop, travel, and play. That was the last one. So, any comments on those? Mary?
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, okay. I think that was done very well, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we finally got to the whole teaching session, and I thought Judy did a great job. Thank you, Tom. I think you did a great job putting it together, and Karen and Nicole. There was nothing that I disagreed with, and I certainly was nodding my head on all the different points. So I think we've got a really good start to make Brighton completely accessible by 2025. It might be a bit ambitious, but at least we have a goal, and we are now having participation by staff, which is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Was there any comment on there that someone like absolutely loved to say, ooh, I think that words it really nicely of what we're trying to do as a committee and a municipality over the next few years? Was there any one that stood out to people as the best one? Because ideally it'd be nice to pick one that's sort of our vision.
Well, I think I saw themes come through a lot of those comments. And I think that there might be a way of bringing some of those themes together in the final overall vision. But Linda, what did you have to say about that?
I wanted to stress about the at Main Street and Prince Edward that the signals should be stopped for all traffic for anybody to cross safely. I know there's been a workforce there the last few days, but I didn't stop to ask them if that was going to be possible. I know it sounds out there a bit, but I really think it's important, because when the drivers get the signal that they can turn and the person gets a signal that they can walk across in the same area, that's where we're having near misses for the traffic to hit the pedestrians.
Yeah.
And it happened to me 2 days ago. The walk sign came on, big black truck turned the corner on the red signal, what he is legally allowed to do. But if I had been faster and out a couple feet, he would have clipped me.
Mhm.
So once he got by, then I could use the signal. Now the signal, to me, the walk signal is, I believe, 7 seconds. So by the time he passed me and I got out there, of course, I'd already used up my time to be there safely.
Mhm.
So that's one thing that I find is a critical thing that needs to happen, particularly at that spot. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, Linda, and we've got it there for, in the comments. So thinking about the time again, I think, Tom, we're ready to move on to the next question.
Okay.
All right, so this is the first standard, customer service. What is your vision for accessible customer service? Let's see what we've got. To integrate accessibility standards into the municipality's site plan control and subdivision design guidelines and standards. To incorporate accessibility criteria and features when procuring or acquiring goods, services, or facilities where it is feasible to do so. Self-service kiosks and e-commerce on the website. Wow. My vision includes everything that is mandated in the AODA legislation with which a business, or in our case, a corporation, operates in the day-to-day. This includes proper staff training, proper layout of buildings and facilities, and proper signage and modes of communication. And next, we have maybe set up something with downtown businesses for visual impairments, a combination of colors, red and green at doorways. Some buildings and stores, front steps are too high and unsafe for me and many others to enter the front doors. Many commercial stores clutter the aisles and walkways to obstruct people with mobility issues. The CIBC branch on Main Street, the entrance is seasonally unsafe. A set of handrails beside the front walls of the branch, creating a safe walkway, or the incline should be replaced with a safe alternative. It is clear that all properties need to eliminate accessible barriers in Brighton. The next one here is continue to develop and improve public works forms, applications, and permits to eliminate barriers to persons with disabilities. All facilities are accessible by 2025, and all staff volunteers complete training with respect to AODA standards for accessible customer service. Having systems and infrastructure in place so that all residents can receive the same level of customer service. All staff must have training in customer service, assuming that their customer may have a disability that cannot be seen. There are many people, including myself, have been treated very poorly by clerks who are ignorant of what constitutes a person with disabilities or too lazy to take that extra step to serve that person. The municipality's customer service policies and procedures support barrier-free interactions with its customers. The municipality provides leadership to individuals, organizations, and businesses regarding barrier-free access to goods, services, and facilities. All right, has that brought to mind any other comments, ideas, concerns in that area of customer service?
You
Mary?
have to speak up because I can't see everyone's picture, so I don't know if you're holding up your hand. I can't see.
I am.
All right, Mary, go ahead.
It makes me very angry, and I guess that's not the right word to use, but I have heard over and over for a long time that some of our residents are treated very poorly by some staff. And I've been thinking, how do we deal with that? Because as soon as you get in the weeds of saying anything about staff, you get drawn off to the integrity commissioner, which is a waste of time and money. But I'm almost thinking that, and I heard this came from the mayor of Quinte West, that all of the employees are now taking training, which seems hard for my mind to think that that we have to be trained not to be rude, and also because of all the problems with what's come out of Black Lives Matter and the Indigenous problem and all the rest, to be politically correct, they have decided that every staff member and every council member will be trained in how to speak to people. And I'm at that point now where I think as a municipality and as a council that it would be a good idea that we get that same kind of training. So it really, that kind of statement really upsets me because I know it's true that people are being treated rude. And that's a reflection on council, and it's a reflection also on staff. And it certainly is not a good impression to bring forward for our municipality. So I'm just bringing it up now because it's not necessarily a accessibility issue. Well, it certainly is an issue for accessibility, but it's broader than that. So I guess I'm frustrated. And so if you have any ideas how we can incorporate that into accessibility, I'm certainly open to your suggestions.
I think that fits under the accessibility customer service standard though, and that it could be part of that goal over the next few years to highlight whether it's staff training or staff interactions or something like that. It could be part of our goals that we put forward to staff, so of our plan.
Yes. Are we planning on having Judy Gilbert back for another session? Because it certainly could be included in that. Or we haven't made any determination on that, right?
I don't think we've made it. I don't think there's a plan in place per se. She would be happy to come back for sure. But there isn't a plan in place for her to come back at the moment. But
Okay.
what I will say about the whole communication piece is that I think there are some skills that come, that can be learned about communicating effectively with people who have English as a second language, who have suffered a stroke and can't speak as well as they used to. And, you know, and one of those invisible kind of disabilities is somebody who might have had a stroke and can't really understand what's being said to them. So it may seem like they are actually perhaps being rude, or they just don't, they're not acting like the rest, you know, of the population might be. So it's just sort of, you know, understanding that everybody is coming with a different way of communicating. And that is, those kinds of skills can be taught. I mean, I've taken courses on communication, you know, in my professional life. And once you learn those things, boy, it makes just interacting with people so much easier. So I think that's a good point, Mary. And I think it is an accessibility issue too.
Yeah, well, it certainly is an accessibility issue, and it's broader than that, but it's a good start. So
Yeah.
do we want to consider what money we have left in the budget for a session with Judy to just do that particular thing? Because I think that's very important. Do we have any idea of what kind of money we have left in our budget, Nicole?
I think at this point, Mary, we're focusing on our goals, and if that's a goal, we can put that down on our work plan as a goal, but I don't think it's something we're deciding right now at this point. I don't think we have enough time right now to go into.
No, but I'm wondering if we can look into that, and then maybe for the next meeting, have some kind of an idea where we want to move forward.
I think Tom, if I'm right, Mary, Tom is taking notes right now.
Good.
So we're going to add that to this section. And then when we come to the end of all of this, then we can just do next steps.
Perfect.
All right, so let's go on to the next question, which was, what is your vision for accessible information and communication?
Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the overlap is, you know, that's fine. So the first one here is corporate and community-wide accessibility, customer service, education, and engagement. To create a provision of accessible formats and communication supports through a customer service policy. Accessible website web content conform to the WCAG. I'm not sure what the WCAG stands for.
That's the worldwide, I can't remember, but it's the accessibility standard for website information.
Cool. The next one is AODA compliant signage and print materials. Maybe bolder signs in Arial font for all members of the community and possibly some sign language in stores. All organizations in Brighton should research and follow the AODA standard. The municipality and the Brighton Public Library could have the AODA standard available in the library and/or online. Continue web development to improve access for persons with disabilities to municipal information, forms, applications, and permits on the municipal web. That there is a community feedback mechanism for accessibility within the municipality website link to place a comment, and that website is reviewed with respect to format, font, and ease of access. That signs are updated for washroom at 35 Alice Street. Increase accessibility awareness within the community on a yearly basis, i.e. link with the DBIA, Chamber of Commerce, etc. Ensure there are policies in place for accessibility needs for the next municipal elections in 2022. Providing multiple options for residents so that they have equal opportunities, that this service follows through as mandated. The municipality has a barrier-free website that meets the requirements under the Aoda. People in Brighton know who to contact with their specific accessibility concerns, including members of the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Comments? Anybody? Yeah, Linda?
Linda here. I think the last comment saying about people even knowing about there's an accessibility advisory committee in town and that we should be taken note of is very important, because there is many people that I've spoke to don't even know we exist as part of, sorry. Seasonal allergies, don't even know we exist. So I don't know how we can get the knowledge out there that we even exist so people can come to us about their problems with accessibility.
Yeah. Well said, Linda. Anybody else? All right, then I think we're ready to move on to the next one. What is your vision for accessible employment at the Municipality of Brighton? Ensure our IT system and website materials are accessible. Employment policies reflect accessibility needs as a priority. Make reasonable effort to create an overall accessible work environment suitable for employees with a disability. Processes for accommodation for employees, individual accommodation plans. I feel that we have accomplished much over the past 5 years in making our facilities accessible. I still have things to do to get our facilities fully compliant. The employment standard should meet the Aoda standard. Incorporate building accessibility considerations into all new capital works projects and asset management planning initiatives. That all potential and current employees have access to accessibility accommodations. To be in a position that all potential employees who might have disabilities can feel comfortable and confident working for the municipality. That these standards are in place, that these standards are set in place, the law is enforced by all. The municipality's recruitment, selection, and employment policies and procedures support accommodation requirements under the Aoda. Any comments about employment issues? Mary?
I just want to say that this is all mandated by the province, and it is our responsibility as we do capital projects, any new projects whatsoever, that they are accessible. So we have to do what the province tells us. So hopefully the accessibility committee will continue to keep their eye on new infrastructure and everything else that's happening in the community, just to have that eye that sometimes staff may not be aware of, and that helps staff to make good decisions for accessibility.
Sandy?
If I recall correctly, in the last 8 years that I've been on the board, I think we've only had 2 builders approach the accessibility committee to make sure that what they had planned on doing was going to meet the accessibility standards. If we can open that up more, said it was wonderful that these people came to us. We chatted back and forth and got information about a lot of things, but that's only 2 people in 8 years, unless I'm forgetting someone.
Well, and I think now that we have Tom as an actual, they're the accessibility coordinator for the municipality, that helps getting staff to come more to our meetings to bring those plans forward. So hopefully in the future that gets a bit better.
Anything else before we move on? All right, let's move on. What is your vision for accessible transportation? Taxi licensing and other public modes of transit to specify accessibility standards. Review our street sign and crosswalk standards to ensure accessibility. To ensure that persons with disabilities have access to accessible transportation, such as Quinte Access. I believe we have a great start in the community with the Access Bus. I appreciate the efforts of Quinte Access. Continue to improve sidewalk conditions, install tactile plates at intersections, and incorporate traffic light controls that improve the accessibility and safety for pedestrians with disabilities at controlled intersections. That all members of the Municipality of Brighton will be informed of available transportation and be able to access accessible transportation within Quinte West and Northumberland County. To have options for individuals who require accessible transportation and ensure there's a level of service that meets their requirements. The transportation system is already in place and continues onward. For a small town, we are fortunate to be teamed up with Trenton Transportation, and Trenton is always innovative in expanding their services, and they oversee the Brighton corridor. The municipality supports a variety of accessible and affordable transportation options. The only thing I might add to that that's I didn't see in there, but I think it's an important idea, is the affordability. It can be very expensive actually to use some of the things that are already in place. And one of the things I don't believe we have in Brighton is an accessible taxi. So I just think, you know, whoever made that comment about the taxis, that was the first comment there. I think that was, I think that's really important going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that it's affordable for people. Any other comments? Okay. What is your vision for accessible public spaces? This is the last one, isn't it, Tom?
I believe so. Yep.
We're racing through these slides today. All right, let's see what people's visions are for accessible public spaces. Ensure our active transportation routes are designed for good accessibility, parks and pathways standards to ensure accessibility. To ensure that any new or reconstructed trails and beach access routes will meet the requirements of the design or public spaces standard. Trail signage to include physical characteristics of the trail, ensure that eating areas meet the requirements, outdoor play areas contain play equipment that meet the requirements, Exterior paths of travel are constructed to meet the standards. Accessibility, parking, and signage are within the guidelines. To have smooth paths and walkways for trouble-free mobility for those who have such issues. To incorporate accessible infrastructure with that used by the general public to create a space which can be enjoyed by all. Straighten all sidewalks, level pathways, and provide ramps. All new and future spaces should meet the AODA standard. Would like the municipality to follow the AODA standard and consult the Accessibility Advisory Committee of the municipality when reviewing public spaces. Incorporate AODA standards into asset management processes, including the inventory, maintenance, and development of municipal parks and trails. That all sidewalks within main core are repaired as soon as possible. That a comprehensive review of current accessibility plan occur to develop what has been completed and what is still outstanding, and a work plan to follow up on those items. Always keep accessibility at the forefront when planning and designing renovations and new construction. This is an ongoing problem, and it would be wonderful if this standard is followed by, and if not before, the date of 2025. And the last one here is the vision for accessible public spaces is that Brighton is a walkable community. Walking routes and connections are designed for all users, including those with mobility challenges, and are accessible for strollers and mobility devices such as wheelchairs.
Okay.
Has this brought to mind any other ideas about public spaces at all? Linda?
Yes. Oh, when they were saying about sidewalks being straightened, there's a lot of orange marks out there right now. I've gone for a ride around town. So they've been marked. So that means that probably in the near future, hopefully, that those sidewalks are scheduled to be replaced. Thank you.
I think Linda, you might have come in after the presentation. That's going to start moving forward here shortly.
Great. That's great.
It's supposed to start, I think it was, I wrote it down. I gotta go back to my papers.
September 9th.
Yeah, September 8th. September 8th to September 9th that the actual sidewalk is starting. And then if it works well, they have an extra $200,000 they're going to put towards additional sidewalk repairs. But they're focusing on the downtown core right now.
That's really great.
So we have about 5 minutes left. And when Tom and I sort of talked about how we would present this information, we realized that we wouldn't be able to do much more than just present the information. And so I think the next step here really is to get a subcommittee together of maybe 2 or 3 people to put the ideas, find the themes in each area and come up with sort of a statement that would encompass most of what was said. So I'm very happy to be on that subcommittee. If anyone would like to join me for a meeting to do that.
I will. I'd be interested.
So that's Sandy. I see Mary's hand up.
And I can do that as well.
And Nicole. Well, that would be 4 of us. I think that would be plenty. Unless, is there anybody else that has a burning desire? Colleen, do you have an interest in being on that subcommittee?
Maybe not at this time.
That's okay, Colleen. Everyone's going to have a chance to see what we come up with. When we
That would be awesome.
And we really try to bring it down to like specific statements under each one. My feeling, having read some of those, that some of those are visions and some of them are more goals or tasks. And so what we can do is just tweak it out and decide what is what, and then When we do that, we'll bring it back to the next meeting. So that's Sandy, Nicole, Mary, and I, Tom. And Tom, you want to be part of that subcommittee too, right? To just, is that right? I'm sorry,
Well, yeah, I guess that's, it depends. Like, if I'm a part of it, if you guys wanted to do it like through Zoom, I could be a part of it. If you guys wanted to meet as a subcommittee separately to discuss those things in person, I guess I wouldn't be able to be a part of it because I can't probably meet, like we can't meet at City Hall or at the Municipal Center right now. So that's the question to ask, I guess, is how you want to go about conducting that meeting.
Mary's got her hand up there.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea that Tom be present, and he certainly knows how to put Zoom together for us. And
Okay.
but I just wanted to mention, I don't know what happened to Bateman. I haven't heard from him since he was sitting. Did he fall asleep in the car? But I certainly,
You're everywhere.
if he would really like to be on this committee, he hasn't spoken, so I would bow out if he wants to do it.
No, Mary, you've got the experience on there. If you can't make a meeting, I'd be more than happy to attend.
Are you
Well-
sure? I don't want you to feel offended.
Well, and I'd be happy to host a backyard meeting in my backyard, a socially distanced backyard meeting. If people
Sounds
would
great.
in person versus on computer too.
So my feeling on this is, well, I can see both sides of this. I can see the value of Tom being on the meeting, but I can also see the value of it being a face-to-face meeting.
Like
So I'm
if,
just,
sorry,
yeah,
I was just going to say, it's sort of from a procedural standpoint, if Nicole, if you were present and minuted the meeting
Mhm.
As sort of the subcommittee chair, let's say, I wouldn't necessarily need to be present, and it would still be like, you know, that you can report back to the AAC. If you wanted to meet physically in person, I think that would be the option. And then otherwise, if you wanted to do it over Zoom, I can facilitate the meeting. So it's totally your guys' call.
Anyone have a burning desire for one or the other?
okay, I'm gonna say I'd prefer a face-to-face meeting.
Me too.
I don't, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we could still do a Zoom meeting and meet face to face as long as we do social distancing. And you're welcome to come on my veranda and do that. I got lots of room.
Well, I guess if you guys, even if you were present together, I could still be remote and conduct the Zoom part of it if you guys either were on one screen that I could see all of you, or each of you had like an iPad or even an iPhone, like a phone. You can still just hold it up and be included in the Zoom meeting as well. So you guys could actually be present together.
Yeah. The thing, if I may speak, Nicole, the thing that I think would help us the most is that then we would have minutes of the meeting. We could keep it, we could keep on track that way. And as a group, then we would have Tom bring that forward to the rest of the committee before the next meeting so that everybody can have their input. So I think overall, I would like to, I don't want to disagree with you, Karen and Sandy, but I would like to see if we could possibly manage it and everybody had some kind of a device that we could meet on my veranda, do social distancing, and Tom could be present as virtual. So I don't know. I don't want to argue about this. If it's really something you want to do, Karen, I don't have a problem with that either.
Well, I mean, I think that if we're gonna do it Zoom, then everyone can be where they're gonna be, right? Right. If we're gonna do a Zoom meeting, then we can do it simply in the same format, and that's absolutely fine with me. It's just gonna, because I think what we have to do is go through each of the points, find themes, figure out which ones are visions, which ones are tasks, which ones are,
Right.
So it's going to be quite a, creative conversation, a creative process to do through Zoom. But I think if we're going to do it through Zoom, then everybody just is where they are.
Okay.
I could add, Nicole, there through you, if you don't mind, is that, if the municipal center is open September 8th, we could have a physically distanced meeting in council chambers after that. But so as long as we're leaving the date open right now, we could just not decide on the format for now, but just sort of move to establish the subcommittee, and then we can stay in contact to identify the format and date, maybe in the next couple of weeks, let's say, or something.
Sounds good.
That works. That would be nice.
Yep.
So I guess, do we need I think we need a mover to establish the subcommittee.
So I'll
Mark
move
will.
establish a subcommittee with Karen, Mary, Sandy, and myself to review the results of the Vision and Standards Survey. And I'm blanking.
And the date of the next meeting to be determined, I think.
Yeah. I don't want to leave it too long. I think what's the date of our next official accessibility meeting? It would be September 11th.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So ideally, that one might be, if the building is open, that one might be able to be in person at council chambers, which would be nice to see everybody in person.
Bring a cake. It's my birthday.
Hey,
Yeah,
Hey,
okay.
I have to hit my phone right now.
so if I've got this straight, what we're saying is that our next meeting of the whole committee is on the 11th. It might go on in council chambers if the building is open. But it does mean that we have a very short period of time between the 8th and the 11th to have a face-to-face meeting at chambers. And it's after the Labor Day weekend. So, I mean, things get, things are a little bit hectic that first week back, I find.
And with school starting, I would be pretty busy if they'll even let me into schools. So, yeah.
So maybe it's not going to work face-to-face in council chambers that first week of September. Is it too close a time? Tom, is it too close a timeline for you, or?
Well, I don't have the
Schedule, like
actual calendar for the council chambers up right now, so I don't know the exact what's going on, but I imagine it's going to be a pretty busy week in there especially if we're opening up. But the other thing to think about is, like, there's no reason why we can't meet following the next meeting with the subcommittee and move this forward for the I guess would be October meeting as well. Just something to consider. There's no actual timeline for us developing this plan. We can kind of drive it as we see fit. So,
Mary?
But the problem is, though, Tom, that there won't be a heck of a lot that isn't repeated on the agenda for the September 11th. We could quite possibly postpone the September 11th meeting, and I think we need to get going. I'm with Nicole, and well, I'm sure everybody is, to deal with this now, because it's like other things. If you put it off, it goes in the closet and gathers dust. So I think whatever date the soonest we can get together, whether it's Zoom or council or whatever, I think we need to do it.
Karen?
Here's a thought. What if our subcommittee met on the 11th? Hopefully in council chambers. And then we have the October meeting where we bring it back to the entire committee.
That's
Sure.
fair.
Is that agreeable to everybody?
Fine.
Yep, as long as you bring cake.
Okay.
Well, bring
I'll bring
cake just for you.
Thank you. Don't bring a whole bunch of candles though. The fire, the fire department won't like that.
Oh, yeah, probably not, yeah. Okay, so to go back to the moving, I will move that a subcommittee is formed with the 4 of us, and we will meet on September 11th at the committee meeting time, potentially in council chambers in person, to review the results of the accessibility survey and to develop plans for next steps.
Good.
I see Mark's hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing. I think that's great, but would you be able to get back to everybody after Monday? Because I think Monday is the training for council for the building protocol, because I know they're starting to set the dates for everything opening. I know the Codring Community Center, for instance, is scheduled for the 8th, and they're going to be going through some training, and us as council members are going through training. So I think on Monday, we're going to know what buildings are going to be open for such things. So the meeting doesn't necessarily have to take place in council chambers. Perhaps the community center down at King Edward Park might be open after we find out on Monday all the training protocols that are going to be put in place for the opening of these buildings. So you're going to have options other than just the municipal bill. So
Yeah, good point. Okay, I'll follow up following Monday then, like let's say, early next week, and we'll try to confirm a date and place.
Okay. So I'll move that. Does anyone want to second it?
I will.
Sandy? Okay, and everybody in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Carried. And so other members of the committee, you're welcome to come on September 11th if you wish, but if you have other plans or want to leave it to the subcommittee, that's fine. You don't have to attend. And then we'll meet on, so if we look at the second Friday in October, the next official meeting would be October 9th. Is that correct with you guys?
Yeah.
Fine.
I know that is Thanksgiving weekend. Is that okay with everybody?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, fine.
Okay.
What time?
The usual time, 10 o'clock.
Okay. And September 11th is at 10?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I've skipped ahead to next meeting date. Was there anything else, Karen, under 6.1, the accessibility plan and goal development, or are we good with that now?
We're good.
Okay. So we've got our next meeting date. Is there anything else on anyone's burning agendas, or can we go ahead and close the meeting?
can I ask one question?
Something on my
Oh,
calendar.
Mark's got a question. Go ahead, Mark.
I don't know if Preston's still on the call or if he touched on it, because I know the lights were mentioned at the corner of Main Street and stuff. And they've done some work there, and I see that, I think there's new lights put in, because part of them are still plastic off or covered over.
Yes, he did report before you came on that the intersection lights are being upgraded. So they're in the process of installing them and getting them set up. I do know that there's timing countdowns now, I think, which I don't know if I noticed before on the sidewalks before. So those are being in the process of being upgraded right now. Frozen.
That they have the sound down.
Sorry, Mark, we can't hear you. You were all broken up there. what's Zoom protocol when we can't understand someone?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. This is new, new to me as well. Sorry, Mark,
Frozen.
you're completely breaking up. We haven't heard a single thing you've said, Mark.
Oh, he's gone.
We lost
I
him.
hope you didn't offend him there, Tom.
Have you guys seen that video parody of a meeting on Zoom, but everyone's in person and then people are all of a sudden outside of the room and in the room and knocking on the door? It's quite funny. I'll have to send it around.
Sounds funny.
I'll send Mark an email to see if he can maybe email around for what his question was.
Sure.
I've texted him, so we'll see if he responds.
All right. Okay. So I guess the only thing left then is to adjourn the meeting unless anyone else has a comment. Anyone like to move to adjourn the meeting?
I'll
I do.
move to join the meeting.
Oh, Linda got on that one really quickly.
Yeah.
I
You
say,
beat me, Linda.
uh-huh.
Seconder,
I will.
Sandy, and all in favor. So nice to see everybody.
Yes,
Thanks for
right.
signing on. Thanks for compiling all that information there, Tom, as well as getting the survey out as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, everybody.
Awesome. Great.
I
Have
miss
a good
her.
rest of the day, everybody.
Yeah.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.